The latest rumors have the Boston Red Sox as a real threat to sign Juan Soto. What should we believe? Where are the sweepstakes? We'll talk about it all on today's show.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Down the Game Time app. Current account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, Juan Soto, a Boston Red Sox, if you were to pay attention to what you saw on social media, it'd be a done deal. There's been some that have been reporting that the Boston Red Sox have an agreement in place for Juan Soto. It's just going to take a couple of days. But those aren't real reports, okay? This is the danger of social media these days, where anybody could just say in big, bold letters, report, sources, breaking news, whatever it is, and they can put whatever they want out there. If I wanted to get a bunch of traction, I could say sources in all caps. I'm hearing that Juan Soto will sign with the New York Mets on a 15-year deal. And I could just put that out there because I think that that might be what's going to happen. I've talked about that on this show, that I think that the difference between the Mets and the other teams ultimately could be their willingness to give him a 15th year. So I can take a gut feeling, an inkling I'm having, put it out there. And if it happens, if Juan Soto happens to sign with the New York Mets on a 15-year deal, I'm a genius. I told you first, but I never talked to anybody. I don't have any sources. So that's what you have to worry about this time of year when all these rumors swirl, particularly on a free agent like Juan Soto that is being so sought after. You really have to read every single report that's out there with a fine-tooth comb and really try to figure out where that information is coming from. But with all of that said, while I don't believe a deal's in place, there have been some reporters that happen to come from the Dominican Republic, or Juan Soto's from, that are making it seem like the Boston Red Sox are a real threat to sign him. The first one that got a lot of traction on Thanksgiving was Mike Rodriguez, who reported that Juan Soto spoke with Rafael Devers for over an hour on the phone to talk about the situation in Boston, and that there is a 12-year deal on the table worth about $15 million per year. So you're looking at a $600 million contract over 12 years for Juan Soto. Now, who is Mike Rodriguez? He lists himself on Twitter as an MLB insider, broadcaster, former analyst for the Chicago Cubs in Spanish, and then says just a kid from the Dominican Republic with the flag in his bio. Now, during the playoffs, Juan Soto granted Mike Rodriguez a 10-minute interview. So is there a relationship there? Potentially. In that interview, there's a video or a little clip that Mike Rodriguez had tweeted out multiple times today where Juan Soto talks about his favorite player growing up being Manny Ramirez. So that just adds some fuel to this fire that, maybe Juan Soto has a hidden affinity for the Red Sox, and this might be a little bit real. Now, all he reported was that there was a conversation that took place between Juan Soto and Rafael Devers, which I'd imagine that absolutely could have happened, probably did happen. The Red Sox are really in on Juan Soto, and it certainly seems that they are. Rafael Devers, another Dominican-born player, is going to be trying to recruit him and get him to sign. So I actually could buy into that part of it. And the big offer on the table, yeah, all of these teams that are in the mix have a big offer on the table. I think all of them probably start with a 6, and it's $600 million. Question is there a team that's going to go to 7? That's what we're going to talk about throughout the show today. But there was another report. Hector Gomez quote tweeted Mike Rodriguez's tweet and said, I'm hearing it's 13 years and $625 million. Now, Hector Gomez is another reporter from the Dominican, and he really dug his heels in because he was getting a lot of pushback. And one of the things that he was holding up is the fact that he was the one that broke it first, that Rafael Devers was near an extension with the Red Sox. And sure enough, a deal did come to fruition. With all these reports that are out there, Jeff Passan tried to calm the waters. He said on his Twitter, "I am thankful for reporters who don't make up stories. I'm also thankful that Juan Soto has not agreed to any contract, which means you can get off Twitter and go spend the holiday with your family. Happy Thanksgiving." I believe there's no contract in place, but I think Jeff Passan was pushing back on the random accounts out there that were saying a deal is done. You look at Hector Gomez's report, 13 years, $625 million. Is that outlandish? Not at all. I think that's a little over $47 million per season. That makes sense. Mike Rodriguez, his report, Rafael Devers talking to Juan Soto, a contract of close to $50 million a year. Okay, that makes sense. That could happen. Let me actually break down that. Let me do the math really quick here. Might do the math. Let me pull out a calculator on the computer here. 625 divided by 13. It's actually $48 million per. So those two reports sort of line up, right? Contract close to $50 million, 12 years. Now 13 years, 625. All right. Either way, they're in the neighborhood. I think all we can take from this is that the Red Sox are 100% committed to going after Juan Soto. Now, you could say, man, why don't they just keep Mookie Betts? That was 5 years ago. I don't know all the money that was on the books when Mookie Betts was, about to hit free agency. I don't remember their exact situation at the time. But as we'll talk about in the next segment, they have cleared the decks a lot. They have a very open payroll moving forward. And they have one of the best farm systems in baseball. And if their pitch is geared around the fact that they have this great farm system, they have a fellow superstar in Rafael Devers. See, it depends on how you feel about Devers. I think if you're looking at Aaron Judge, Francisco Lindor, and Rafael Devers on the scale of different players you could team up with, I think Devers is a clear third. But Juan Soto might view it differently. Rafael Devers is only a couple years older than Juan Soto, both from the Dominican Republic. I mean, maybe there is something here. So, should we take the threat of the Red Sox seriously? Are they going to be the team that ends up with Juan Soto when it's all said and done? We'll talk about that in just a minute. First, though, quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, pull open the Game Time app and check out their Live Nearby feature, where you can see everything that's going on this weekend, whether it be a concert, a comedy show, maybe it's going to an NBA game. And when you find your tickets or the place you want to go to on Game Time, you find the event, you click on it, you can look at the Game Time Picks feature, which will filter out the fluff and show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Stay up to date with all the latest in the world of sports when you check out Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube today, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We are getting so close to our next goal of 11,000 subscribers. I appreciate all of you who continue to subscribe. All right, let's talk about Juan Soto and this connection to the Red Sox. Back in 2004, Juan Soto would have been 6 years old. Manny Ramirez was maybe his favorite player, according to that conversation you had with Mike Rodriguez. Big Papi was, of course, on the Boston Red Sox, as was Pedro Martinez, and they broke the curse, won the World Series. Then in 2007, when Pedro Martinez was a Met, David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez won another World Series for the Boston Red Sox. So there could be something there. They've also talked about this, reason for Soto to sign being that Fenway Park is the perfect ballpark for him because he can pepper balls off the monster when he goes to the opposite field. Those lazy fly balls to left turn into doubles. Right field, still a short porch. You might like Yankee Stadium more. There's a lot of talk about Yankee Stadium being the perfect ballpark for Juan Soto. And he did set a career high in home runs, but it does stand to reason that Fenway Park would be just as good as well. Where are the Red Sox right now? Because they have not been very competitive for the last couple of years, but they do have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball Roman Anthony could be of this upcoming season. I know at Just Baseball, he's our number one prospect. And I think a lot of people in the industry are coming around to Roman Anthony as the best prospect in the game. And they got plenty of others coming too. They also have Jarren Duran, who's had an all-star season, and they have Rafael Devers. So they have a chance to have a very good lineup. And really, if you were to look at the future of the Red Sox based on their farm system, when it comes specifically to their starting lineup, you could make the case to have the brightest future between the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Yankees, just because of where their farm system is. Now, those are prospects. I'd still argue that continuing to be Aaron Judge's running mate is probably the best outcome for him when it comes to what he's going to do in the lineup, the protection that he gets. There's no better protection than Aaron Judge. He's the best hitter in baseball, and he just enjoyed that for an entire season and had a career year doing it. So I wouldn't, again, necessarily buy into the Red Sox will definitely have a better lineup over the next 5 years, but you can be sold on this vision of what the Red Sox are supposed to become with the farm system now stockpiled, ready to go, with a couple of really good all-stars in place in Devers and Jarren Duran, and a future where Juan Soto could be the man there. That's the difference between the Red Sox and the Yankees. With Aaron Judge, he's going to be second fiddle. Now, the case for Juan Soto signing with the Mets is that they're going to always be able to spend, which I don't know if you could say that for the Red Sox and the Yankees. Yes, theoretically, they should always be able to spend. But to the degree that the Mets will spend, probably not. Now, I'd say playing with Francisco Lindor should hold some value, but Lindor is not quite the hitter that Devers or Judge is. He was great this past season, absolutely. But those other guys are more offensive-minded players. So we just don't really know what exactly Juan Soto wants here, but ultimately it should come down to contract. And when you look at the Red Sox books, they do have the ability to sign Juan Soto because there's not a lot that they have on their payroll. They have Rafael Devers for close to $30 million per year. He's under contract for 9 more years. They have Trevor Story at around $23 million for the next 3 years. They have Lucas Giolito, who makes $19 million. Then I think there's an opt-out, and then it's $14 million. Then you have Masataka Yoshida, around $18 million a year. The rest of the team, all of the different contracts fall under $10 million per. A lot of arbitration guys, pre-arb guys, or veterans that are on contracts that aren't crazy. There's 3 years left of Story and Yoshida, 2 years left of Giolito, as I mentioned, and then Rafael Devers is the one guy that's locked up for the 9 years. So for the most part, you have a wide open payroll. So that's why they could slide Juan Soto in at some astronomical number, and they just build around that. If I was advising Juan Soto, I would definitely be very cautious about the Red Sox future spending beyond him because they just have not been investing. It seems like the Fenway Group has been more focused on the Premier League and soccer and other things. They haven't been as focused on the big league, major league product in a little bit. Is that going to continue? Have they made assurances that they are ready to commit again into the Red Sox? We'll see. But I think the bottom line here is the Red Sox are in this. If I had to pick, do I think that he's going to be a Red Sox over a Met or a Yankee? I'd still skew towards either the Mets or the Yankees, and part of that is because you got 2 of the 3 potential teams here. But the Red Sox are in it, and if this bidding is real, how far does it get to? If the Red Sox are all in, where does that push the Yankees or the Mets? Because for the Yankees, if this is all about getting Juan Soto to get his money but stay where he just was, they might be pushing all the right buttons. Is it a smokescreen? We'll talk about that in just a minute. First, though, another word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, if you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And again, you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. So make sure you got something that you feel really confident in, that you know is going to come in. If you win that $5 bet, $150 in bonus bets are coming your way. That's at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're an everyday listener of the show, make sure you become a Locked On Mets insider. This is our texting service where you get updates from me anytime news breaks in the Mets. You can ask me questions anytime. You can also take part in our Locked On Mets sign photo giveaways, and you get our lineup graphic during the season every single day, so you know it's the strong lineup that ever having to go on social media. If you want to be Locked On Mets insider, find the link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets. Is this all a smokescreen? Are the Red Sox not really a legit threat, and they're just being used to drive up the price on the Yankees? That could make sense. Not only do you have the crosstown rival in on Juan Soto, that doesn't put enough pressure on the Yankees. Now it's your chief rival, the one you really care about, one of the best rivalries in sports. The Red Sox are trying to steal your player. It does make sense that this could all just be to drive up the price, but this is not coming from John Heyman. I look at John Heyman when he puts his exclusive story out about the Yankees and how they've already increased their offer. That feels like information fed from Juan Soto's camp being Scott Boras. But at the same time, I'm not going to completely discredit a couple of reporters from the Dominican Republic who, at least in Hector Gomez's case, have had good information in the past. Now, he's also been wrong. At one point, Hector Gomez said Francisco Alvarez was nearing an extension with the New York Mets. We don't really know if that was ever real. It certainly didn't come to fruition. So you have to take all of this stuff with a grain of salt. But could there have been conversations with Alvarez and the Mets? Could that have been at all possible? Yes. So again, I think you have to take all of this reporting and just understand where the information might be coming from and what it could possibly mean. So in this case, I look at this and I think more likely coming from someone on the Red Sox side than Juan Soto's camp, but there's clearly some interest from the Boston Red Sox to get a deal done. And that idea of an offer being on the table at $625 million over 13 years, I don't think that that's crazy at all. That the bidding has already gotten there. There's a chance that $700 million is in play. And you have to think that is what Scott Boras is ultimately trying to hold out for. Because if he's already got 3 teams over $600 million, he sees that $700 million number. And maybe the first team that crosses it gets him. Everybody might have come to a similar contract. If you think about the idea of you got to break Shohei Ohtani's average annual value, if that's part of the equation, because typically records are chased by Scott Boras. That is how he works, particularly with a free agent of this caliber. It's all about ego. So there's certain benchmarks that are looked at. Total money on the contract. That seemed like the one that was most unlikely to be reached. Is he going to get over $700 million? Who knows? But present day value on a contract could have been reached easily because Shohei Ohtani got $680 million deferred on that $700 million deal. So the present day value of his contract, although we can't seem to agree on what exactly that was, when you look at Spot Track, the average annual value is calculated at $46.1 million, which would tell you that the present day value of the contract is $461 million, in which case that's a number they're going to clear and clear by a mile. He's going to get over $500 million, and I honestly would be shocked if he got anything less than $600 million. So if that's the case, if that one benchmark is crossed, what else can be crossed? Longest contract ever. You got Fernando Tatis Jr. on a 14-year deal right now. Bryce Harper at a 13-year deal. Never been a 15-year contract, and this is a freshly turned 26-year-old free agent. So a 15-year deal signs him through his age 40 season. It's not crazy whatsoever. That would be a number they're trying to get to. Do I think a team has put a 15-year offer on the table for Juan Soto yet? Probably not. Teams are still probably trying at 12 years or 13 years because that's more reasonable. Then you're not paying for that age 40 season. No one wants to bite the bullet on an age 40 season and pay Juan Soto $45+ million potentially when he is 40 years old. But that could be the ultimate deciding factor in getting a deal done. If they were going to check all the boxes, longest contract ever, highest average annual value ever, and then just forget just the present day value, overall, the richest contract ever signed, $701 million more than Shohei Ohtani, over 15 years, that comes out to an average annual value of $46.7 million. So maybe that's the contract. Maybe he gets 701 on a 15-year deal. It's not out of this world anymore because of the amount of interest here. If you really legitimately have the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Yankees all bidding on Juan Soto's services, it can get wild. This is exactly where Scott Boras wants to be right now. All I hope is that we don't have to talk about this for a month. I want the Juan Soto sweepstakes to end one way or the other within the next week and change. Winter meetings are coming up. They begin on December 8th. So my hope is there's only one more week of this process of these teams bidding against each other. And Scott Boras opens up the winter meetings by announcing that Juan Soto has signed with whatever team. I think the Mets have a good shot at it. But I am believing at this point that the Red Sox are in it as well as the Yankees. And then apparently there's still a fourth team, and the Blue Jays are supposed to be in it. Phillies importantly haven't had a meeting with him yet, or their conversation with Boras have not been focused on Juan Soto. They could always get in the meeting, but I sort of doubt it. There was some talk that the Royals and the Rays wanted to get in. I just can't buy that. I think at this point, it might come down to Red Sox, Mets, or Yankees. I would still hedge myself by saying I think he ends up in New York because it's one of those two teams. But I think the Red Sox are in this thing. And their case is based on a good farm system, a couple of really good players on their roster, and a great farm system, as I think I already said. I think I said that twice, but it's important to mention. It's also based on the ballpark and the tradition of Dominican star players. I don't know how much that stuff really factors into it. I think the highest bidder wins. That's what we've been saying this whole time. Are the Red Sox going to be the highest bidder? We'll find out. But for now, that's going to be all for today's edition of Locked On Mets. If you want to find me on social media, you can do so at Finkelstein Ryan. You can follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen or your first watch every day. Now, for your second watch, head over to YouTube and check out the first ever 24/7 streaming channel. It covers everything in the world of sports. There are local hosts from each team, league-wide hosts from each league. That's Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube.